You need to stop lifting as heavy as possible if you're ready to reach your dream sculpted, hourglass, snatched physique. And this is coming from somebody who has been training for the past decade, has gone through so many different phases of my physique, and has been helping hundreds of women online all over the world sculpt their dreamiest physique through my hourglass training method. When I first started training and when my clients first come to me, the position that they are in is that they are lifting super heavy. They go into the gym and they're stacking up the bar, they're stacking up the machines, and they're training like a powerlifter. I was doing the same thing. I thought the more weight that was on the bar, the more weight that I was pushing, the better my results were going to be, the bigger my bum was going to get, the more fat loss I was going to have, and the better I would look. And today's training is going to help you to completely rewire the way that you see training, the way that you show up at the gym. It's going to completely rewire how you train so you can reach your dreamiest hourglass physique yet. And to rewire how you see lifting, because you're not here just to get strong. And if you're just going in right now and your only strategy is to just get the most weight on the bar, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get strong. You're not going to get sculpted, you're not going to get curves, you're not going to reach your dream hourglass, you're not going to get a bigger bum, you're not going to get a snatched waist, you're just going to get strong. When I used to train super heavy all the time, it was fun. I was like taking my pre-workout powders, and this is what my clients were doing as well. They would wake up at 6 a.m, pre-workout down the throat before breakfast, and I used to love that thrill. I used to love that excitement of packing my little powders together, taking all my supplements, getting my straps, getting my chalk. But if you saw my bag, it looked like I was about to climb fucking Mount Everest. I would go in and chase PBs after P-Bs. How much can I push today? How much can I get on the bar? And all the gym bros would be like, oh my gosh, she's killing it. And I used to get a little bit of, a little bit of satisfaction from that when everyone used to think I was strong. But the more and more that I continued to train in this way, the more frustrated I got, the more tired I got, the more cravings I got. I would come home after my session, I would be completely exhausted for the whole day. I would get super high cravings for sugar because I was so tired of pushing in the way that I was. My sessions were taking me 3 hours because it took me at least fucking 50 minutes to do the 200 kg hip thrust by the time I put all of that weight on the bar. I was completely drained. And let's not forget, in between those sessions, it would take me so long to recover because my body was always completely battered. I was in a continuous state of having muscle soreness, and it wasn't fun. So even though in the gym I was training super hard, I was pushing myself so much, unfortunately, months went past of doing this, probably even a couple of years, which is why I'm making this video today, which is why I'm creating this training, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did and you learn from my 10 years of lifting and my 6 years of coaching. I'd look in the mirror and my stomach was really big, my bum was still kind of flat, and I didn't really have the shape that I truly desired. When I put my clothes on, it wasn't giving hourglass, it was giving, okay, she's okay, but she could be better. And I wanted my strength and all the effort and the hard work that I was putting in the gym to match how my physique looked. I wanted to have a snatched waist, I wanted to look toned, I wanted to have a bigger glutes, I wanted to have that feminine, curvy, strong physique that not only felt strong at the gym, but I portrayed that in the way that I dressed, in the way that I looked, in the way that I felt in the mirror. And I see this pattern so freaking much. You're training like a powerlifter, but you want to look like an hourglass queen. And those two things do not match. The first thing that you need to focus on is your form and your control and your tempo. You can go in and put the heaviest weight on the freaking machine, but if you're not utilizing that rep and controlling that rep to the best of your potential and making even 20 kg feel so difficult just because of the way that you're controlling it and the way that you're manipulating the tempo, then you will not be able to activate or engage the muscles that you're working. Therefore, you will not progress with creating bigger glutes. And if you're not loading that tissue properly, that muscle tissue, the only thing that you're doing is moving the weight. You're not moving forward with your progress, because your muscles and your glutes will grow, your hourglass will shape up when you create tension and not just load, because your body, it doesn't actually know how much you're lifting. Your body only understands how well you're lifting something. So the better that you lift that specific weight, the better you perform and execute the exercise, the better your physique will look. When I used to be a personal trainer at Pure Gym, I made the mistake of just pushing my girls as hard as I possibly could in every single session. And when I transitioned to online coaching, where I now work with hundreds of women online to transform their physiques, I can see the beauty in not just getting them the most perfect session, but creating that long-term strategy that will develop into your dream physique. And that takes me on to my second point. Number 2, structures, phases, and long-term strategy. So many women, and I've seen this when women go to the gym at 6 p.m. because I know that is the most mad time to go, when all the people out of work are doing their session, which I love. But that also brings in another factor, that machines are full, right? There's so many people waiting to get their turn on the leg press. There's so many people waiting to get onto the shoulder press. And what tends to happen is when you see a free machine, you're jumping on that machine. Oh, leg press is free? Okay, cool. Let me get on that before John goes on it. Oh, you've got 2 sets? Okay, fine. While you're waiting, I'm just gonna do some squats. Now, what you're doing, you think you're getting your session done. You think you're utilizing your time. You think you're getting your session completed. But what you're doing instead, you're losing that structure in your training. And all you're doing is just building random strength and jumping from one machine to one machine. The same way, if your goal is to create a really nice, romantic, long-term relationship, you're not gonna get that if you keep just jumping around, you know? Like, you're gonna have to commit, you're gonna have to communicate, you're gonna have to put in the work, right? It's the same with your training. We can't be jumping from machine to machine. We have to stick to a long-term strategy. And this is where your overall phases matter. And where I went wrong, and this is where I want you to not go wrong, is I was stuck in a constant strength phase because my only goal when I went to the gym is, let's push as hard as I can. Let's see how much more I can lift. And that is just one specific, small, tiny section of progressive overload. Progressive overload is super important to help you to develop your glutes, build muscle, to see fat loss, and to reach your sculpted dream hourglass physique. But if your only form of progressive overload right now is to just go in and increase the weight to the heaviest possible amount, then the only thing that you're going to develop is your strength, right? And this is why when I work with my one-to-one clients, we are mapping out their phases to the T. We are mapping out exactly how long and when we are doing an hypertrophy phase. And in those phases, we are focusing on form, we are focusing on execution, we are focusing on the exercise selection within the exercises, and how we can make sure that the workout is super optimized. So you're not jumping from machine to machine. You're actually planning out, number 1, okay, we need to make sure that we've got compound exercises. We need to make sure that we've got isolation exercises. We need to make sure that we've got unilateral exercises, and planning them in this most specific order that's going to help you see the most amount of results. Each of your phases, whether it's a volume phase, whether it's a hypertrophy phase, it each has its own purpose. And when you put them together in the long-term strategy, the way that your body adapts, you'll be surprised. And I would recommend doing each phase for at least 8 to 12 weeks. I see so many women see a workout on TikTok and they go do that. And the next day they see one on Instagram and they go do that, right? What you want to make sure is that you're sticking to the same block of exercises that you've created for the next 8 to 12 weeks at least. And in that phase, you want to add progressive overload, but you don't just want to add it through increasing your weight. You want to add it through making sure that if you're doing lunges, maybe can you add on a form of increasing the range of motion? Can you add some pauses? Can you add some tempo in there? Can you control the rep on the way down? Instead of going straight down into your lunge, can you go down from the count of 5? And what that's going to do is really put so much load on your muscles, so much tension, that you're going to be able to feel that burn. You're going to be able to feel your glutes growing right in that second, okay? Because here's the thing. You can still train till failure, which is important, one of the most important things for muscle growth and to create your hourglass physique, without having 200 kg on the bar. There was a point where I was having that on the bar, I was doing 5-6 reps, I couldn't even feel it because I was just moving the fucking weight. I wasn't actually controlling it. I wasn't adding pauses. I couldn't because it was just too heavy. It was just too much. So finding that balance between getting the perfect load for your physique, and also finding that balance between getting the most perfect load and finding that balance between being able to control it is super important. And point number 3, going beyond just how heavy you're lifting, what does your exercise order look like currently? If you're randomly doing a quad extension and then you're jumping on to a hip thrust, then you're doing an adduction, then you're doing an RDL, you're mixing your compound and isolation exercises in the wrong order. You want to make sure that you are delivering your workout in the best, most optimal order for your goals. And this is why splitting up your session in 2 to 3 days in the week will be optimal for glute growth. You want to make sure that each of these sessions are hitting all of the muscle groups that you want to grow, because your muscles need to be hit and stimulated at least 2 or 3 times in the week in order to see growth. So if you're just doing a quad extension once and then you're not doing it again for like 2 weeks, you're not going to develop that muscle. You're not going to develop those sculpted legs. And that's why directing your exercise order in your specific session really does matter. These different phases and orders of exercise I'm talking about each have their space, but you need to learn how to utilize them and add them into your long-term strategy with intention. Because I went through a different phase, and I put my clients through different phases where we have a phase of 8 to 12 weeks where we go in with the compound movement first. We go in with hip thrust first, but then we also have a phase where we go in with more of the accessory movements first, like the cable kickbacks. So that way we're pre-activating the muscle before we go in to doing the hip thrust, which means because your muscles are already fatigued from the kickbacks, you do not need to load up the bar as heavy for your hip thrust to be able to feel that same level of activation and loading up that muscle. And that's what you call intelligent training, because that way you're protecting yourself from constantly feeling tired. You're protecting yourself from constantly wanting to push for PBs, but actually going in and being in and out of the gym within 45 minutes with strategic and optimized training and seeing even better results than before. Now, my client Pav over here was lifting super freaking heavy. She loved going into the gym and smashing out PBs upon PBs. That's just a thing, and I love that for her. But of course, she was doing this for about 3 to 4 years before we implemented my strategic Hourglass training method with the long-term strategy, going over and completely stripping away the exercise order and exercise selection. And now she's in and out the gym within 45 minutes. Her waist is even more snatched, and she's seen more progress within 3 to 5 months than she has done before in the past 3 to 4 years, just because we are training more optimally rather than pushing hard. Rather than training like a power lifter, we are now training like an Hourglass physique queen who is now seeing her hard work pay off in her physique. And when I talk about hard work, I do not refer to lifting heavy. I refer to training hard in the most optimal, sufficient, and most efficient way possible. So if you have been lifting for years, if you've been training for a long time and you still feel like your body's not sculpted or your body is not changing in the way that you want, it's because your strategy now needs upgrading. Heavy lifting will only get you so far. You're gonna hit a plateau. You can't keep continuously lifting heavier and heavier and heavier, because at one point the weights are gonna run out. Then what you're gonna do? You have to rely on your strategy. And that's where I come in. So have a lovely day. And if you need any more support on how to reach your dream physique, please check out the links below. Or if you need further support on how to perfect your split, how to perfect your training so you can build your most perfect Hourglass snatched physique, drop me a DM on Instagram with the word Hourglass, and I'm more than happy to help you.